and live in Abuja, the capital city. Good evening to you in Nigeria and around the world. You're watching Politics on Sunday. I am Femi Akonde. Today we'll be having another interesting conversation, I assure you. But first, let me tell you that the governor of Katsina State, Dikko Umaru Rada, led some northern governors to Washington, D.C. in the United States to attend a strategic meeting hosted by the acting Nigerian ambassador to the United States, Uzoma Emenike. The focus of the meeting is to foster partnership and deepen collaboration in critical sectors, promote socio-economic development, and effectively address regional challenges through connectivity, ICT, energy, food security, education, climate change, and financing. The meeting also had in attendance a high-powered delegation from the United States, led by the UN Deputy Secretary General Amina Mohammed. The northern governors that traveled alongside the governor of Katsina State are those of Kebbi, Kaduna, Jigawa, Sokoto, Niger, Zamfara, and Benue states. While moving on, a chieftain of the All Progressives Congress and lawyer Jesu Tega Onokpasa has condemned the manner in which the EFCC is seeking to arrest and prosecute the former governor of Kogi State, Yahaya Bello. The lawyer insists the anti-graft agency is persecuting and not prosecuting the former governor, who have been accused of allegedly laundering money to the tune of 80.2 billion naira. Jesu Tega Onokpasa called the action of the EFCC a show of shame and insists such matters can be handled through the proper application of the rule of law. He also condemned the manner in which the governor was declared wanted and the travel ban placed on him by the Nigerian Immigration Service.
He's persecuting rather than seeking to prosecute His Excellency Yahaya Adoza Bello. The immediate past governor of Kogi State, Yahaya Adoza Bello, has been treading in the news in a manner that calls for great concern, with a plethora of ramifications cutting across serious issues such as fundamental human rights, the rule of law, and then other matters of political significance. Now, as far as we are aware, former Governor Bello had obtained a court order restraining the EFCC from arraigning or prosecuting him. And we state categorically that he was perfectly entitled in law to place reliance on the protection of the law. Indeed, the same law which binds absolutely all of us in a civilized society. The motto of the EFCC is that no one is above the law. Well, that starts with the EFCC itself, which is certainly not and cannot possibly be above the law. The remedy against an order of court is to vacate the order or to appeal the same, and most certainly not for law enforcement to thump its nose at the court and decompose into lawlessness and brigandage.
Well, moving on now, President Bola Tinubu will on Monday, April the 22nd, open the Africa Counterterrorism Summit in Abuja. These high-level summits will be organized with the support of the United Nations Office of Counterterrorism under the theme Strengthening Regional Cooperation and Institution Building to address the evolving threat of terrorism. The objective of the summit is to enhance multilateral counter-terrorism operation and reshape the international community's collective response to terrorism in Africa, while emphasizing the importance of African-led and African-owned solutions. The summit will provide a platform to review the nature and severity of the threat of terrorism on the continent, with a view to agreeing on concrete strategic priorities and measures to address this scourge. It will also foster deeper regional collaboration, enhancing the institutional capacity of member states and facilitating the exchange of best practices and knowledge to combat the multifaceted threat to terrorism in Africa. According to a statement signed by the Special Advisor to the President on Media and Publicity, Ajuri Ngilali, he says heads of state and government and high-level government officials across Africa and representatives of international organizations and multilateral institutions will be in attendance. Also, members of the diplomatic corps and members of the civil society are expected to attend the summit. Mrs. Amina Mohammed, the United Nations Deputy Secretary General, will also attend these events. The National Security Advisor to the President, Malam Nuhu Ribadu, and Mr. Vladimir Voronkov, the Under-Secretary General for Counterterrorism, will deliver the concluding remarks at the end of the summit. Well, we'll begin our conversation on the program today, and my guest is a special advisor to President Bola Tinubu on media and publicity, Chief Ajuri Ngilali. Welcome to the program, SA.
It's always a privilege to be with you.
Yes, President Bola Tinubu's administration will be 1 year next month, on the 29th of next month precisely. Now, you know what they say on social media, what I ordered versus what I got. Have Nigerians gotten what they bargained for, what they voted for at the ballots?
Without question, Nigerians expected of His Excellency President Bola Ahmed Tinubu that he would provide leadership that would take the difficult decisions that have needed to be taken over the course of the last few decades, which had not been taken until he assumed office. He has lived up to that fully. At the initial phase of the administration, it was clear that those decisions would lead to some level of discomfort, which our people have very patriotically endured. They've made sacrifices. And today we've seen the second phase, which is the reward for the difficulties experienced in the first phase. We're seeing that in the form of, obviously, the Nigerian Naira now being the world's best performing currency over the course of the last 1 month. We're seeing that in the form of unprecedented scope of infrastructural intervention over the last few months with the inauguration of the Renewed Hope Infrastructure Development Fund, which I think, unlike the Presidential Infrastructure Development Fund that preceded it, is now focused on also attracting private sector investment to counterpart finance critical developmental projects across sectors. In addition to that, Nigerians have seen His Excellency Mr. President fully implement a $1 billion expeditious and qualitative reconstruction of the nation's seaports, not just the western seaports that we're used to talking about, but now even the eastern seaports. In fact, just a few weeks ago, the Honorable Minister of Marine and Blue Economy, His Excellency Adegboyega Oyetola, was taking the media to the One Deep Sea Port to see the extensive work that had gone on there, and there are several other ports that are being reconstructed as we speak. If you look at the end-to-end modernization of the nation's transmission grid, which is an ongoing effort by His Excellency President Bola Ahmed Tinubu to ensure that there is an accelerated performance of our partnership with Siemens Energy to ensure that the 2,000 plus megawatts of stranded power in the country is finally getting across the grid into the homes, industries, and businesses of our people. This is just a few of several interventions. If you want to go into, for example, healthcare, where the president has flagged off, the Renewed Hope, health investment initiative, which is now seeing to the execution of 8,800 new primary health care centers across all, not just states, but local government areas of the Federation down to the ward level. Not only doing that, but also approving the National Health Fellows Program, which is going to ensure that our young people are empowered, trained, and paid to effectively serve as monitoring fiduciary agents to ensure that we don't have the long-standing fiscal malpractice that we'd seen and maladministration we'd seen, within our primary health centers across the country, so that whatever interventions he's putting in place now prove sustainable over the medium to long term. You look across the board. There are too many sectors to mention. Frankly, if I go into the details of all the interventions of this president over the course of the last 10 months, that one question will exhaust this entire program. So I think I would leave it there.
But there are some Nigerians that would say that, they are yet to see the gains for these pains they have endured due to the reforms carried out by President Bola Tinubu's administration.
Well, I think that is something that could have been said perhaps 2 months ago. I think that is less the case now when you consider the fact that Nigerians have, borne witness that their spending power has substantially increased over the course of the last 1 month plus. Given the reforms that have been put in place by this administration, even within the Central Bank of Nigeria. Nigerians are recognizing that there is a level of stability, not just strength. It's one thing to bring strength to the currency. It's another thing entirely to bring stability to the currency, to not have it, fluctuating so dramatically up and down. Obviously enables Nigerians to effectively plan and the like. I think when you look at, for example, the implementation now of the National Student Loan Program, which is being rolled out over the course of the next few weeks. Before we get to May 29th, we would have been able to report the figures of the beneficiaries who are benefiting from that program. When you look at the launch very shortly of the Nigerian Consumer Credit program through the Nigerian Consumer Credit Corporation, of which the day-to-day management has been appointed through the CEO, Engineer Uzoma Nwagba, we are also committing to our people that before May 29th, we will have a clear set of verifiable beneficiaries who can come out and refer to how consumer credit is changing their lives. So we are not yet at the May 29th mark, but the point is when you look at the turnaround with respect to the currency, with respect to even national security, with respect to the interventions we're making that I've just mentioned, I think Nigerians would recognize that we are certainly on an uptrend after several months of some difficult transition.
Okay, let's talk about the currency now. The rise of the Naira against the dollar. It appears not everyone is excited by these developments. Some people have even said that it's not sustainable because Nigeria is not a producing nation. We do not have much to export, which will strengthen the Naira. And some people have even alleged that the CBN is probably using the foreign reserves to defend the Naira, even though the CBN has come out to state the facts clear that they are not doing any of sort. But they say this rise in Naira, it will be short-lived.
Femi, you cannot totally remove or eradicate skepticism from any society. And I've long said that any skepticism that exists within our country is well earned. We have had decades of maladministration. We have had broken promises by successive administrations. That is not news to our people. What we are focused on is ensuring that what we promise to our people, we deliver to our people. And when Mr. President said that there was going to be difficult storms in the initial phase of his reforms with respect to the unification of the foreign exchange market, with respect to the modifications and reforms brought to the fuel subsidy regime, that yes, there were going to be difficulties, but they would be followed by a period of progress and reward. I think anybody who is being fair-minded with respect to the strength of the national currency would recognize that what they've seen is unprecedented, particularly in the speed and the extent of the recovery we have seen. That's number one. Number two is, on the larger question about whether this is sustainable or not, I think it requires a bit more sophistication in the analysis to appreciate that what we had before was under the leadership of Godwin Emefiele at the central bank was effectively the pegging of the currency at an artificial rate that was premised on the essentially limitless defense of the Naira with whatever foreign earnings we were making at the time to keep it at a rate. As a result of that artificial setup, what you now had was a system that lacked integrity, because when an investor brings in their foreign exchange, for example, or earns foreign exchange, they want to be able to take it out in foreign exchange, and they cannot, which is what we saw with airlines, which is what we saw with manufacturers, because our foreign exchange that was already scanty was essentially being cut up into pieces, and we're essentially managing things to create an impression of something that doesn't really exist, which is the artificial strength of a currency that doesn't really have a foundational basis to its strength. What we now have, essentially, is a currency that is not being defended by our foreign exchange reserves, as rightly stated by the central bank governor, that is based on a true reflection of, and again, the true reflection is probably under 1,000 Naira to the dollar, frankly, and we're still moving toward that. So let me say that out front. We're still moving toward the true strength of our currency. But what is fair to say is that we have a currency that is supported by the fundamentals that undergird its present strength. It's not a pegging. It's not a mustering of whatever foreign exchange we have available to create an appearance that we have strength that we don't have. There's nobody with any evidence, with any data that can make that claim today, whereas that was clearly the case as of yesterday, which is why we've been positioned under the leadership of this president to pay off over $7,000 billion in foreign exchange USD denominated backlogs. We've done that because of our determination to ensure that we get a currency that everybody around the world who has insight into what we're doing can validate and verify that if they bring their money in, they'll be able to take their money out because they're dealing with the Nigerian Naira at the relative sphere of its true strength, even as we believe we're going to get closer to its true strength over the course of the next several months. When those those fundamental, features are understood, I think people will recognize the difference between what happened before and what is happening now with respect to our ability to say that over the course of the next, 6 months, 1 year, and years ahead, we're not going to be flying back to 2,000 Naira to the dollar, et cetera, but that we're going to, in a very sustainable and steady way, move toward the true strength of our currency, which we are very firmly convinced is beneath 1,000 Naira to the dollar.
When President Bola Tinubu assumed office, he was out and about traveling from Europe to America to even the Gulf countries, talking to investors, persuading them to come into Nigeria. A lot of people criticize the frequency of these foreign travels of Mr. President. But later on, the federal government announced that so far the country has been able to attract about $30 billion of FDI into the country. At that time, President Tinubu was literally begging multinational companies not to leave Nigeria. What has changed? Do they now have reasons to stay back? And what's different?
Well, let's appreciate the fact that the proof is in the pudding on this issue. What do I mean by that? It's one thing to say that the president has implemented far-reaching reforms which both the international community and our domestic investor community have openly attested to. It's another thing entirely to just look at the numbers and let the numbers tell you the story. Over the course of the last 1 quarter, that is 3 months, we have seen more foreign exchange inflow than we saw over the entire 1 year, 2023. 4 quarters were surpassed by the last quarter of the first quarter of 2024. This speaks to what is happening with respect to investor confidence, with respect to the inflow of foreign exchange into the country as a result of the bolstered confidence that we are, that investors are having as a result of the reforms we put in place. The next point I want to make on this is it would be difficult in national memory, even going back to the military regimes of old, to recall an administration in which Nigerian citizens at all levels had a clear sense of what the president's vision is. Why is he president? What is he pushing at? What does he want to achieve? What society, what economy, what national security picture what is his vision for the country? Today we have a president who, on a daily basis, he is sharing his mind with our people. He's communicating clearly with our people. And people have a sense that not just through policy communication from the president, but also from his personal statements, they have a sense of where we're coming from and where he is taking us to. The point I want to make on that is he has been consistent from his first days in office that his primary objective is to not just restore national security to a level that is commensurate with our global competitive countries, our other emerging markets, but also ensuring that he is fixed, his eyes are fixed on enhancing investor confidence in the country. Not just domestic investors that have openly, demonstrated and expressed how happy they are with his reforms and his leadership, but the international investors. From the opening, from the G20 in New Delhi, which was one of the first major investment trips he took, to what is about to happen now. Over the course of the next several days, Mr. President will be moving from Europe into the Middle East, into North America, taking the same push for foreign investment to them. And we're already seeing the benefits. I've already alluded to the foreign exchange inflows. But there's still a lot more work that needs to be done. We have not been in a celebratory mode. If you are in the president's office every day, you would know that he is not standing around dancing or clapping. He is focused on what he's doing morning to night, ensuring that when he gets an investment commitment from any investor, whether it's in the country or outside of the country, he is doing everything he can on a daily basis, making sure that he's in direct interface with the officials and with the investors, ensuring that whatever encumbrance, whatever bottleneck is in the way of that investment, of that money coming into the country, establishing that factory, that industry, that facility, that those things are being removed and that that money is coming in and that our people are being employed and that those industries will generate new tax revenue for the federal and state governments of the country. This is the focus of our president, and it will continue.
Yeah, the president has said that he's going to remove all blockages or obstacles to attracting foreign direct investment. It appears one that has been very difficult, or like a thorn in the flesh for his administration, is insecurity. We have seen the frightening trend it has assumed lately with kidnappings. Of course, we know that some of those kidnapped have been released. The federal government have been able to secure their release. We have also seen secessionist movements or agitations in the southwest, one very daring one in the southwest and in some other parts of the country. How soon will all of these be tackled? Because foreign investors would definitely use this as a yardstick to determine whether to bring in their business or bring in their funds into Nigeria.
Femi, your point is a very important one. Frankly, the president has seen to a stabilization in the nation's security situation. Doesn't mean that we're where we want to be. We're not saying we're at the finish line yet. But when you consider the fact that the day he took office, we were dealing with rampant insecurity in the southeastern geopolitical zone, to the extent that Anambra State Governor Chukwuma Soludo would come out openly and lament that insecurity in his state and in the zone was undermining his development program and his ability to attract investment. Today, that is not the story you're hearing from the Anambra State government. That is not the story you're hearing from the state governments within the Southeast geopolitical zone. That is not by accident or by default. That is by the strategic initiative and attention and focus paid by the Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces in the person of the President. If you look at what was happening in the Southwest, where we had severe kind of frequency, rather, of not just the secessionist agitation that you've just referred to, but also robbery, crime, kidnapping. We've seen a gross reduction in that. It is fair to acknowledge, though, that over the course of the last few weeks, we have seen the unfortunate, return of some of the more audacious attempts by some of these secessionist movements to rear their head. The president was very clear in his audience with Afenifere that anybody who tests the sovereignty of the Federal Republic of Nigeria from any part of this country without any fear or favor will have themselves to blame, that there will be a price to be paid, and he's going to ensure that that is dealt with expeditiously.
Okay, I'll not let you go without asking this question, because we need to cross over to Ondo State, where the APC primaries is holding at the Coalition Center. But first, let's talk also a bit of politics now. You were on TVC some time ago, right, where you talked about the political situation in Rivers State between the FCT Minister Nyesom Wike and Governor Similaye Fubara, and you clearly stated that in all of these, President Bola Tinubu will not take sides. But some close watchers or some political observers will say that is not the case. It appears as if the president maybe has some biases in all of this.
I don't know anyone who would question, based on the 40-year history and beyond of President Bola Tinubu's political story in the country, would question his political integrity. This is someone who takes a position, and that's his position. That means that when he gets two sides of any equation, I'm not even referring directly to River State now, if he gets two factions together to sign a peace agreement, that is from the position of a father, ensuring that there is peace among the children. He is not going to be someone who is going to have a favorite child. That applies across the board. So when I said that, it is what it is. With respect to the River State situation, I am a journalist, Femi. I am not a politician. I have no intention to join politics. My focus now is ensuring that when the president has a position, it is clearly communicated. That can always be assessed one way or another in one state or the other, and all of that. That will happen. But my focus is ensuring that I communicate the president clearly, and that I avoid all allusions to the notion that I would be willing in any way to join the murky rivers of politics in my home state, that is River State. I have no such interest, and the president will continue to be the leader of all and fair to all and biased toward none.
All right. Thank you so much. Always a delight to speak with you, Chief Ajurin Gilali, Special Advisor to President Bola Tinubu on media and publicity. Well, that's all time will permit us to take on the program. We will go over to on those states where the collation of the APC governorship primary election is ongoing. Don't go away. I'm Femi Akonde.